Victorian women would literally chew on arsenic and drop deadly poison into their eyes, all to look like a beautiful, frail corpse. Let's explore why, in the 19th century, the ultimate beauty standard was looking desperately ill. A healthy glow meant you worked outside, which was completely unacceptable for high society. They actually romanticized the symptoms of tuberculosis. Pale skin, dilated eyes, and red cheeks from fever were considered the absolute peak of feminine elegance and grace. To achieve this tragic, dying look without actually catching a disease, women turned to a popular miracle product, Dr. Campbell's Safe Arsenic Complexion Wafers. Yes, they ate rat poison as a beauty supplement. These little chalky wafers were nibbled daily to destroy red blood cells and create a ghostly pallor. Quack doctors swore it was perfectly safe in small doses. They marketed it as a harmless cosmetic treat that would clear blemishes and whiten the skin forever. The truth was, arsenic accumulates in the body. It damages the nervous system, causes severe abdominal pain, and eventually leads to organ failure and death. The worst part, if a woman tried to stop eating the arsenic wafers, she would experience terrible withdrawal symptoms, including massive breakouts of awful skin boils. Terrified of losing her complexion, she would rush back to the poison, taking even higher doses just to keep the terrible withdrawal side effects safely hidden. For those who didn't want to eat it, there were always arsenic baths. Women would soak their entire bodies in toxic water at exclusive beauty springs. Husbands often had no idea why their wives were slowly wasting away. They just thought that the women were naturally delicate, fragile creatures suffering from nervous exhaustion. Arsenic wasn't just in their beauty pills. It was dyed into their vibrant green dresses, painted on their floral wallpapers, and even laced into their hair ornaments. Many young socialites died mysteriously in their sleep. Their deaths were tragically blamed on weak constitutions, rather than the toxic chemical cocktail sitting on their vanity tables. But arsenic was only the beginning of their deadly vanity. If you think eating rat poison is extreme, wait until you see what they smeared on their faces. Next, we will uncover the thick, crusty layers of heavy metals that wealthy women painted over their rotting skin. Get ready for the terrifying truth about Victorian foundation. While arsenic worked from the inside, women also applied poison directly to their skin. The most popular foundation was a thick white paint made from lead. They would slather this toxic paste over their faces, necks, and chests, creating a flawless, porcelain mask that signified pure, untainted aristocratic wealth. But lead is highly corrosive. The paint would literally eat away at the skin over time, causing painful chemical burns, terrible scarring, and permanent discoloration. The makeup also dried into a stiff crust. Women had to avoid making any exaggerated facial expressions, or their beautiful painted faces would crack to hide the hideous scars caused by the lead paint. Victims did the only logical thing. They applied even thicker layers of the same toxic lead. As the lead seeped into their bloodstreams, it attacked their bodies. The metal poisoning caused severe headaches, chronic abdominal pain, and total muscle paralysis. It also caused their hair to fall out in clumps. Many fashionable ladies were secretly suffering from severe bald spots, hidden under elaborate wigs. Even worse, the lead poisoning destroyed their gums. Their teeth would turn black, rot, and fall out, completely ruining that perfect society smile. To add a healthy flush to their pale, rotting faces, women used a red cosmetic called cinnabar for their blush and lip color. Cinnabar sounds harmless, but it is actually mercuric sulfide. Yes, they were rubbing pure, highly toxic mercury directly onto their lips and cheeks every morning. Mercury poisoning severely accelerated the terrible symptoms, leading to extreme mood swings, uncontrollable muscle tremors, permanent kidney damage, and eventually a horrifying total neurological breakdown. Mercury was also used to thicken eyebrows and eyelashes. because nothing says glamour quite like smearing a deadly neurotoxin right next to your eyeballs. These women were literally rotting alive underneath their expensive gowns. Their husbands admired their fragile beauty, completely unaware of the chemical warfare happening beneath. The cosmetics industry was entirely unregulated. Quack chemists made a fortune selling these lethal beauty concoctions to women desperate to meet society's impossible standards. But rotting skin and falling hair weren't enough. Next, we will see how women willingly blinded themselves, all for the sake of a dreamy gaze. In Victorian times, large, dilated pupils were considered incredibly attractive. Society believed that wide eyes signaled deep romantic longing, innocence, and emotional vulnerability. To force this permanently wide-eyed, dreamy expression, fashionable women turned to a dark, natural remedy derived from the highly toxic, deadly nightshade plant. This plant extract was famously known as Belladonna. Women would willingly squeeze drops of this literal poison directly into their delicate eyeballs every single day. The deadly liquid immediately paralyzed the muscle in the iris. This forced the pupil to expand massively, completely absorbing the natural color of the eye. While it certainly made their eyes look large and striking, paralyzing your eye muscles comes with a few incredibly severe, life-altering medical drawbacks, because the pupils could no longer shrink in bright light. These women suffered from agonizing light sensitivity when walking down normal, sunny street corners. The toxic drops also completely ruined their ability to focus. Wealthy ladies were practically blind, constantly stumbling over furniture and bumping into their own maids. Hilariously, the men found this helpless stumbling incredibly charming. They thought their wives were just wonderfully clumsy and delicate, entirely unaware of the chemical blindness. Belladonna ironically translates to beautiful woman in Italian. But this beautiful plant is packed with powerful alkaloids that can easily trigger a fatal overdose. The poison didn't just stay in their eyes. It slowly absorbed into their bloodstream, causing wildly elevated heart rates, intense fevers, and painfully dry throats. High doses of belladonna would actually trigger severe visual hallucinations. Fashionable ladies would secretly suffer through terrifying, drug-induced fever dreams right in their own parlors. Yet again, opportunistic quack doctors heavily promoted the toxic drops, promising women that regular use would permanently brighten their tired eyes and capture any gentleman. Over years of continuous use, the relentless chemical exposure caused permanent, irreversible visual damage, leaving many of these beautiful socialites completely and tragically blind. They literally sacrificed their own sight just to match a dangerous standard of beauty. Their perfect, glassy stares eventually became permanent, lifeless, unseeing eyes. But the quest for toxic beauty never stops at the face. Next, we will witness the horrifyingly flammable chemicals they poured all over their heads, with their complexions ruined and their eyesight destroyed. Wealthy Victorian women naturally turned their attention to achieving the perfect, fashionable hair color. Blonde hair was highly desired, but the process to get it involved applying powerful, unfiltered ammonia directly onto the scalp. The smell of the ammonia was so aggressively strong that husbands would often have to completely evacuate their own homes just to breathe safely. The harsh chemical stripped the hair of its natural color. But it also completely destroyed the hair shaft, leaving it horribly brittle, dry, and painfully damaged. Things got even more dangerous in the late 1800s, with the invention of early synthetic dyes, containing highly reactive and terribly unstable chemicals. These new synthetic colorings were incredibly flammable. Applying them meant turning your head into a highly explosive fire hazard waiting for a spark. If a lady accidentally leaned too close to a gas lamp or a candle while her hair was setting, she could literally burst into flames. Several tragic reports exist of women suffering severe burns right before grand balls, their beauty routines ending in catastrophic, fiery disasters. Even if they avoided catching fire, the chemicals caused terrible allergic reactions. The synthetic ingredients would burn the scalp and cause aggressive, painful swelling. Some women woke up the next morning with their entire faces swollen shut, their scalps covered in painful, weeping chemical blisters. The ingredient responsible, PPD, is still used in many hair dyes today, though heavily regulated because it remains a potent, highly dangerous skin allergen. To hide the thinning hair caused by all these toxic chemicals, women relied heavily on massive, heavy wigs, which created entirely new, disgusting hygiene problems. Between the arsenic, the lead, the nightshade, and the flammable ammonia, getting ready for a Victorian party was essentially a highly lethal science experiment. You might think that putting pure poison on their bodies was the worst of it, but their clothing was about to become an agonizing torture device. Next, we will look at how the obsession with a tiny waist literally crushed their ribs and severely rearranged their internal organs. To complete the perfect Victorian look, a woman's waist had to be impossibly tiny. This was achieved through the daily, brutal application of a whalebone corset. Putting it on was a two-person job. A maid would put her foot squarely on her mistress's back, violently yanking the heavy laces as tight as humanly possible. This extreme tight lacing wasn't just uncomfortable, it fundamentally changed human anatomy. It physically bent the lower ribs inward, permanently altering the skeletal structure. Even worse, the immense pressure squeezed the internal organs together. Livers were pushed upwards, while stomachs and intestines were forced violently downwards into the pelvis. Because their stomachs were so heavily compressed, women physically could not eat a full meal. Doctors frequently diagnosed them with strange digestive illnesses. The corset also restricted lung capacity by up to 30%. Women literally could not take a deep breath, constantly starving their bodies of oxygen. This lack of oxygen made fainting a completely normal daily occurrence. Men simply thought women were highly emotional and naturally prone to dramatic swooning. To combat this, ladies always carried smelling salts. When they inevitably passed out in public, a quick sniff of harsh ammonia would violently shock them awake. Some women even slept in lighter corsets just to train their waists overnight. Their bodies were never allowed a single moment of healthy, natural rest. Over years of wearing them, the back muscles would atrophy. If a woman took her corset off, she physically could not sit up straight anymore. The medical community finally began protesting in the late 19th century. Doctors started publishing alarming X-rays showing the horrific internal damage caused by fashion. But society largely ignored the doctors. Being beautiful and securing a wealthy husband was considered far more important than having fully functioning lungs or an intact liver. Ironically, many men complained that corsets were unnatural and deceptive, completely missing the point that their own societal expectations demanded this impossible, hourglass perfection. So, women continued to lace themselves into these beautiful silken cages, quietly suffering through the pain, the fainting, and the slow, internal destruction. They were literally crushed under the heavy weight of society's expectations. But honestly, looking back, was any of this really worth it? Arsenic wafers, lead paint, blind eyes, flammable hair, and crushed organs. The Victorian beauty routine was basically a daily suicide mission in a fancy dress. As the 20th century rolled in, science finally started catching up. People began to realize that poisoning yourself wasn't the best way to find a husband. Governments eventually stepped in. They passed strict regulations banning heavy metals and lethal poisons from everyday cosmetics, effectively ending the era of toxic Victorian glamour. So, the madness stopped. Right. We are so much smarter now. We would never, ever put dangerous chemicals on our faces just to look pretty. Well, let's not judge the Victorians too harshly. Today, We literally pay doctors to inject botulinum toxin directly into our foreheads to freeze our wrinkles. Yes, modern Botox is made from one of the most deadly neurotoxins known to humanity. The Victorians would honestly be incredibly proud of our dedication. We also use harsh chemical peels to intentionally burn off the top layer of our skin, hoping a fresh, youthful glow will miraculously appear underneath. And instead of wearing whalebone corsets, some modern socialites surgically remove their actual ribs just to get that impossibly tiny, cartoonish hourglass waistline. The truth is, society's obsession with impossible beauty standards hasn't changed at all. We just found cleaner, more medically regulated ways to torture ourselves. The Victorians were simply the glamorous, reckless pioneers of the multi-billion-dollar cosmetics industry we all know, love, and blindly follow today. They willingly suffered for fashion so that modern influencers could run so we could walk. Or, well, stumble blindly through a parlor room. Next time you complain about your daily skincare routine taking too long, just be grateful your moisturizer doesn't contain a lethal dose of rat poison. It really makes you wonder, in another 100 years, which of our totally normal beauty routines will future historians look back on with absolute horror? Will they laugh at our toxic nail polishes, our dangerous tanning beds, or our incredibly strange obsession with drawing perfectly symmetrical, massive eyebrows? What is the craziest beauty trend you have ever tried? Drop a comment below, and don't forget to subscribe for more dark, hidden historical truths.